All right, here's one I can actually show fan art on, because the last one was not appropriate for me to do that with. This one comes courtesy of SETI. They said, so started this as a very stupid idea, which I could test in a different art style for stickers. Anyway, I decided to add a second panel. Is it a porn one? No. It's a random fan coming up to me going, wait, is that serious? I'm a big fan. Bonk. And then, go ahead, tell them. They'll never believe you. I mean, if somebody told you that a random cat girl on the street attacked them with a comically sized hammer and they became a pancake, but now they're better, would you believe them? Also, Garter Gamer, thank you for redeeming your points for an owl. Tell them how I am a pancake smeared across the floor. Oh. Anywho, as always, thank you for your fan art submissions. Please drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. And with all that said, let's get into the actual conversation here. So, Flock cameras. It's been argued by Flock, from what I understand, that their cameras are meant just to track license plates, but they don't really go for individuals specifically. But that seems to be a fucking lie. Deltoid, you never answered why you're a leftist. Deltoid, that's because you had exactly 3 messages before I hit you in timeout, and you chose to waste them. You have 3 more now, but you've used 1 already. Anywho. That I saw someone who had one pointing right at their house. Yep, remember, they're not meant to track individuals, except for all of the instances where police have tried to use it to track individuals. You've read your last free article. Okay, Wired. Sure thing. Wait, have I? Oh, no, I haven't read the free article, but I'm not allowed to read the free article. Thanks. Anyways, okay, we are now doing this Google Doc style. I appreciate your help, Dorito. We are doing it Google Doc style. Try Gemini and Docs, or fucking don't. I'd rather not. Vehicle surveillance giant Flock Safety has told the public for years that its technology cannot recognize, identify, or track individuals. It has now built a system that does both. An AI tool for police that can identify drivers and track vehicles by their patterns of movement alone. So Jesus fucking Christ, he's such a boomer. Look, I do not think that news articles should be behind paywalls. I think information should be fucking free. Drawing on a network of cameras that logs the movements of drivers in more than 6,000 communities, the tool can pick up potential witnesses by how often their cars pass through a neighborhood, or surfaces a driver's associates from the cameras they pass together. Also, Spyrofan, thank you for resubscribing. I appreciate it. And Raka, thank you for doing your channel points. There we go. For an you fucking degen. Redeeming, that's the word. PJ Blazer says, heard a surveillance expert say it's essentially pre-crime surveillance. Yep. The software, originally called Night Shift, or more recently renamed OS Investigate, ships with 69 pre-written prompts that officers can select, review, or edit, and then submit to the AI. Officers can also put inputs of their own. So even if it didn't have those prompts... 69, oh, of course. The suggestion, or this suggests prompts sit in a cache of more than 450 files that Wired found on Flock's own website, served by its login pages to anybody who loaded them. The code describes 45 tools at the AI's disposal, giving it access to plate scans and camera metadata, arrest records, case files, dispatch logs, ballistics results, and commercial databases that contain social security numbers, dates of birth, phone numbers, email addresses, relatives, and associates. My fucking god, did anybody not see Minority Report? Flock says it's testing the product with a small group of law enforcement partners and describes it as still in development. Yeah, and I kind of hope that if we keep using spray foam on them, and by we, I mean you guys, I've never done it, but I feel like if spray foam keeps finding its way onto Flock cameras, then there is a chance that they won't get much further. See, It arrives when the company faces bipartisan political pressure, a growing record of officers caught misusing the platform. It's almost like the kinds of people who, you know, are statistically likely to abuse their wives would use this for abuse. Let the cameras... There was a wave of vandalism that left the cameras sawed off and lenses painted over in cities across the country. Good. Also, Suris, for the burp, as soon as it comes off cooldown, you will be doing it. Ara, this is playful threat. John says, you know it's bad when Amazon tries to do a pro-AI judge and still somehow gets it wrong? Glass says spray foam on the lenses and somehow they just fall over. No idea how that happens. Yeah, look, it's not my fault that flock cameras spontaneously develop, you know, glue and spray foam and all kinds of weird shit on their cameras. It's not... look, out of it. Flock built its business on a simple transaction. A camera photographs a passing car, converts the plate to text, and checks it against a list of vehicles police are looking for. Cars that are not on the list are recorded and otherwise ignored. OS investigate preloaded prompts, describe an inversion of that arrangement. An officer no longer needs a plate, a name, or a crime to begin. They simply supply a place, a stretch of time, and a pattern of behavior, and the system is designed to hand back the people who fit. The flock cameras only do that when they're very distressed. Just because Spider-Man needs something to swing on doesn't mean the flock cameras are just constantly getting covered in wet fluid. Bonbon says I could do something really funny with 82,369 channel points right now. Or you could fucking not. You could not. That's a thing you could not do. You can choose not to torture me. You have the ability to make that decision. You can choose morality. That's an option you have. Based on what happened the other day, I know that you'll never choose morality, but it's an option you have. All 69 of the prompts are offered to officers as a menu of canned searches. Selecting one pasted into the chat box where the officer can review or edit it before clicking it again to submit. Said, oh, look at him begging me not to do it. One prompt flock preloaded into the system reads... Find me witnesses based on vehicles most seen in the black neighborhood. It just says neighborhood. During the last 14 days during this time frame. An officer would fill the blanks and submit it. The output is then a list of plates, which other tools in the product can then convert into names and addresses. The Chaotic Kennedy comic says, you sound like Tristan Timothy Taylor, and my voice gives me super strength. Also, Little Karibo is trans now. Anyway, another said, what the fuck did I just come into? Ideally, a woman and or a male and or an NB. With consent, of course. Another prompt instructs the system to list everybody arrested more than twice in the last 2 years for any offense. Exempting only narcotic arrests, and then says to map where those people live, retrieve calls for service at their home, and do a workup on the top 3 individuals. The prompt begins with everybody in the area who has an arrest record, and then ends with dossiers on 3 of them chosen by the software. This is why people still end up doing fucking crime afterwards. Or at least getting caught for it. Like, can you imagine you're a convicted felon, you go in, and then you get out, you're reformed, blah, 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 blah. And then the police have built an entire system to make it easier to track everything you do and hunt you the fuck down. Any little fuck up you do, they're just gonna be like, yep, nope, fuck you. I will quote Ben Franklin. I will just quote Ben Franklin real quick. Those who are willing to give up their liberty for security deserve neither liberty or security. Said, commits crime, goes to the radio silent zone to hide out. Said, isn't this just a social credit system with a different name? Stygander, I have a cool thing to point out to you. We already have a social credit system. It's called credit. Like, the financial credit system is not that much different in execution based off the things you lose access to with a poor score than a social credit system. It is simply a step removed. Spyro fan, thank you for reading me your points, friend. You fucking degenerate. Bonbon said, that's it, I'm moving to the Bermuda Zone. Look, move to the Bermuda Triangle where lesbian Amelia Earhart will be able to ferry you wherever you want to go. Has anybody else seen the President Carter show? Is it just me? Because, like, I'm not gonna lie, it's not terrible. It could be better, but it's okay. It sounds like a dream. It said saw somebody had a car wrap that was pictures of other cars on it. Woo! Spirefan says the Rick and Morty spinoff. Yep. Bon, you wouldn't Ratatouille? All right, a workup in Flock's terminology is a one-command background check. It starts with a name and a date of birth and returns what the department's records and commercial data hold. Vehicles, prior listing as a suspect, and on a second screen, relatives, phone numbers, and online accounts. 19 of the prompts describe hunting for patterns rather than looking up a record. 14 call for no plate, no name, and no description. The officer simply supplies a location, a window of time, and a behavior. One group of requests asks for vehicles that visited 3 or more retail locations in the city in the last 3 days, or multiple banks in a week, or multiple gas stations between midnight and 5 a.m. None of the 5 names a target or an incident. Yeah, you're just looking at basic fucking human behaviors. It is pre-crime. That's exactly what it is. It's just fucking pre-crime. Jesus. I guess we'll get back to this. One group of requests asked for the vehicles that visited more than 3 retail locations. The tool behind these searches carries a filter that strips out buses, semi-trucks, work vans, and so a delivery driver visiting 5 shops would come off the list, while an ordinary driver making the same rounds would remain. The same type of search also applies to travel between cities, vehicles that left one city for another and then returned within a week, made repeat round trips over 14 days, or pass through the 3 areas in sequence. Midnight says, can we also say fuck Axon? They make cameras that are essentially Flock cameras that are mobile/portable. Oh, yeah, no, Axon's a competitor with Flock, and fuck them too. There's actually some argument I've seen online that all of the anti-Flock hate has specifically been so that Axon can get more of the market share. Flock did not respond to a list of questions about the product and did not dispute the capabilities described in our reporting. Instead, in a statement, spokesperson Paris Lubel characterized OS Investigate as a separate product from Flock's license plate reader technology. That makes it better, I guess. Ugh. It's designed to help investigators work across information their agencies have access to. He said the tool's capabilities and workflows may change significantly before a broader release. Amid the mounting controversy about how police use and abuse its cameras, Flock's long-held position has been that the technology records plates and not the drivers behind them. Its own public trust pages tell customers that its technology is built for specific case-based investigations, not for watching people. But experts who reviewed the AI tool for Wired said those assurances are hard to square with what they actually found in the code. Said, I think most people imagine that license plate readers are checking license plates and they're looking at see if the vehicle is wanted. And if it's not wanted, the police move along. ACLU, but we're increasingly seeing that the aggressive deployment of AI by Flock, and in some ways, like China, very little space between what can be done and what is being done. We're increasingly seeing the aggressive deployment of AI by Flock, and in some ways, like China, very little space between what can be done and what is being done. There we go. One example, for instance, takes a single plate and asks the system to plot the journey of that car and its top 3 associates. The code describes explicitly how the ranking works. It counts how often the other plates appear at the same cameras within 2-minute windows of the target by default, and reports back any car that shows up next to it 3 or more times, with a confidence threshold defaulting to 0.75. Okay. God, I love living in mass surveillance. I love it. It's my favorite. Can we please stop? Robbie says, yeah, and some departments have used them to watch cameras that were conveniently aimed at apartment pools. See, what I don't get is why wouldn't you just watch porn? It's free and on the internet. Or you can pay money for it. I mean, I've paid money for my partner's porn before. Like, you can. That's a thing you can do. You just go watch fucking porn. You can. Noel Picardo says, I don't know how else to say this, but this sounds completely insane. I don't know how anybody can argue against the idea that Flock literally tracks people. Picardo spoke out against the technology before Rhode Island state lawmakers in 2024, weeks after he served a 30-day suspension for criticizing Flock and department leadership in a local newspaper. What? He got a suspension for criticizing Flock? What the shit? The State Police Chiefs Association publicly rebuked him days later. Investigations and discipline followed, which he believes were retaliatory, and he resigned as the department moved to fire him. Jesus, why? A detective at California law enforcement agency, granted anonymity because he was not authorized to speak publicly, sees in OS Investigate a tool his department would use. Flock has closed many vehicle theft cases for them, he says, and officers have worked with similar technology for years. I was not aware of this AI product, but it doesn't change the way I think about it. We'll use whatever tool is available to solve the crime. It isn't controversial. Shut the fuck up, dumbass, you out-of-touch goddamn stupid son of a fuck bitch. No, it is controversial. That's why there's fucking controversy about it, you fucking idiot! Jesus, God, fucking bullshit! What in the fuck? How do you sit there and go, actually, no, what we're doing is not controversial? Sir, you're literally being interviewed under anonymity because it's controversial. Actually, it's not controversial. What the fuck? No! It is, in fact, controversial. That's why we're having the fucking conversation. And when they say similar technology, they're talking about fucking closed-circuit cameras. They're talking about CCTV. The detective said the witness finding prompts made him slightly uncomfortable. As law enforcement, we need to use every tool available in spite of what the defund people say. Uh-huh. And when we see that those tools are constantly getting abused over and over again, is that a thing that we do? Then I say we defund his ass. Whoopsies, they claim. So, I want to remind everybody, real quick, I want to remind everybody of what happens when you say, we as law enforcement need to use every tool available. Is anybody familiar with the 1921 Tulsa Massacre? Anyone at all? They said, oh boy. No, but I am suddenly interested. So, this was what was called Black Wall Street. And the TLDR, yes, CL, 100%, is when Philadelphia cops decided to bomb a building because black people were making too much money. I wish I was fucking kidding. As city streets throbbed with protests and what some might call uprisings during the summer of 2022, two science fiction dramas were called The Massacre of Tulsa, Oklahoma, which took place 100 years ago this spring. Watchmen and Lovecraft Country, both on HBO, filled television screens with imagery of Tulsa's black neighborhood of Greenwood. Booker T. Washington named it the Black People Wall Street, because I know that somebody's going to clip me saying that, which morphed into the Black Wall Street, as it was shot up, torched, and bombed from the air by white vigilantes. Viewers wondered if the events depicted were more fiction than science. Social media was abuzz with people trying to find out more about Tulsa. Among African Americans, however, the memory had not completely faded. Is that so racism? Yes. Absolutely. Now, when I say it was bombed by cops, that's because in the Tulsa Race Massacre, many of the attackers, while off-duty at the time, were sworn in and deputized as special law enforcement officers by local city officials. Yay! Yay! City and county authorities armed large segments of the mobs, giving them official sanction and power during all this. Thanks, police. Any and all tools necessary. Any and all. Fucking shite. So yeah, whenever I hear this whole, like, we use any and all things necessary, yeah, sometimes that might be a bomb or a tank. Shut the fuck up. The detective said the witness findings prompts made him slightly uncomfortable. Yeah, it makes me slightly uncomfortable too. Anyways, burning down a data center is self-care, and so is a flock camera magically disappearing. The blacks are at it again. Better get the nuke, Jimbo. Fucking damn it. Anyways, God, I love America. Support your local DSA. That's all I'll say. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.